What is up, guys? It's your boy Blackrue back with another video. And as always, we start with my guy Indigo Saint. As I'm trying to here. And let's get it. Let's get it. Indigo Saint in the building. Blackrue investing. Let's go.
Who's this producer?
Best believe I was black or invested. With your money, you ain't gotta be guessing. Profits is what we manifested. So we binge on that black or invested. Best believe I was black or invested. Got course in this race, we ain't resting. We got stocks, we got crypto with a blessing. So thank God for that black or invested. Best believe I was black or invested.
All right, guys, we're here with my guy Dion from MYCNetwork. What is up, Dion? How you doing?
I'm getting ready for the biggest bull cycle we've ever seen. You have multiple ETFs about to be approved. You have everything under the sun that's going for this market. Larry Fink from BlackRock just got through saying that the flight to safety is going to be in crypto assets. So I think that's going to be producing a lot more interest. You put on the news, everyone's talking about crypto again. Bitcoin, broke almost 35,000 now. I haven't checked in a day or so. I'm not really a chart watcher. I buy things, I ship it out to my engrave, and then I, forget about it and I get back to work. But, I'm excited, halving is in April. So, I anticipate a lot of growth before that date. A lot of people are going to be sidelining themselves for way too long.
Yeah, bro. You know what? I think I got us going on another computer. Let me go turn that off right quick. I'll be right back, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Sorry about that.
It was a double live stream going on.
Yeah, that's not good. So yeah, guys. I agree with everything that you're saying there, bro. Like it's shaping up to be a really bullish time here. Like as soon as we broke the high for this year, in 2019, it took, which was the last halving cycle, by the way. In 2019, it took us all the way till the next year after the halving to break that 2019 high. And we've done it already now. So for me, bull run is here, officially started. Does that mean that there's still not deals out there? There are, but as far as like officially started the bull run, we're here. Okay. Um, yeah, man. And yeah, that institutional money. Um, the great thing about it is that it's a spot ETF. So that means they have to own Bitcoin, which means they're going to have to buy Bitcoin. And if all of these different organizations get approved and they all are doing spot ETFs, boy, like,
Oh yeah,
that's fire, bro.
yeah. Because basically the way the ETFs works with institution is it works a lot like what they do with gold and silver ETFs. They got to buy the commodity first, or buy the whatever ticker it is first, and then they're going to sell those paper contracts to their clients or institutional clients. So, that's going to be a major upswing for Bitcoin, especially right before halving. A lot of people are going to be waiting for April on the dot, but it's like, no, right now more than ever, you should be DCAing, you should be stacking as much crypto as you can, and holding on for dear life for the next 1.5 years. I've been continuously reminding everybody, how sensitive everything you do from here is going to be. Everything you do for the next 1.5 years in regards to your response, your reaction to the market, what you do with your money at this time, how you respond to this market is what's going to determine the next 10 years of your lifestyle, if not more. So, do the right thing, stack as much as you can, keep producing income. Do not live off of the market. Okay. A lot of people like to short-term trade. They like to swing trade. And that's a big mistake, because the problem is you're not producing income. or you're continuously spending your investment, you're spending your profit. And that's just not the time. When you're in bear cycle, yeah, we saw a lot of people 2x or 1xing, and then they would sell or something like that. But again, even during those times, like myself, for the last 2 years, I've been stacking a variety of different utility tokens. Any blue chip project to me is a project that has a viable product, viable software, any sort of application that offers value, where you have users or you have customers that are paying for that service. So your product or your service needs to be good enough for people to pay for it. So, as I go through a lot of the different picks out there, I'm looking for one major thing this cycle. Do you have a product? Do you have a service? Because what happened last cycle was a lot of retail investors as well as institutional investors got destroyed, because a lot of them were investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in projects that had zero product. They would spend all this money for a CEO that would pitch an idea, and they didn't produce anything except a Lambo in their garage. They didn't produce any software, no applications. They didn't get any applications listed on Apple or Google stores. They didn't get virtually anything done except burn money. So, one thing that I know, and this is kind of sidestepping from the ETFs, okay, because of course you're going to have institutional investment with a lot of these corporations, or a lot of these institutions like BlackRock or Vanguard. A lot of these banks are going to be buying, but let's go back to what also pushes this market, and that's going to be a lot of venture capitalists. There's going to be a lot of private equity groups. Okay. Private equity groups don't need to go through the nonsense that ETFs go through. And, private equity groups were buying a lot of investments last cycle, and they didn't need an approval because they were private equity, private money. So, what happens with those firms is they take in hundreds of thousands of dollars, they take in hundreds of millions of dollars, and then they look for viable projects that could return an investment, or they could produce a unicorn company or a unicorn software application. So, what happened last cycle is these VCs and these private equity groups were destroyed because admins were not producing a product. So, this cycle, there's not going to be this crypto bubble pop like the way you saw it last cycle. What created the .com bubble, or what created the crypto bubble pop, or they used to compare the crypto pop from last cycle to the .com bubble. Okay. And the reason why they compared it to them is not because you just saw an up and down swing. Okay. It's not because of that. It's actually because a lot of people during the .com era were investing in anything that had a .com website. So they were investing in a lot of companies that had no product. They had nothing. So they took in all this money, they burned it, and then all of those stocks went to the ground. So, this cycle, they're going to be coming in a lot more educated. They're going to be looking for things a little bit differently. I think retail investors are going to be looking at projects differently, because there's not free money to go around anymore. The interest rates are too high. So this time around, even if they're anticipating lower rate cuts as we go into 2024, they're going to be looking at these projects with way more scrutiny. They're going to be looking at viable business models, because what creates value for a token is a product or a service. If you have enough value to drive token demand, then your token's going to do well. Now, is your business model sustainable? Is it being paid for? That's another thing. You can't just make a brand and just say, hey, give me your money. You have to be able to provide some sort of value to this new digital economy. So I think a lot more scrutiny is going to happen this cycle, but I don't think we're going to get the same type of pop even as we go into 2025, 2026, because I am anticipating a 1.5 to 2 year bull cycle from here.
I like what you said there, because that's going to be the most important thing. You listen to so many people who are crypto veterans who have been around for a long time in the space. Every bull run, they say, I didn't take enough profit. I didn't take enough profit. So you're thinking around 2025, summer 2025 will be a time to take profit?
Yeah, I do believe so. I think that, you should always try to take some de-risk or take some chips off the table as we head into the end of the cycle. But again, I don't think that we're going to be breaking down the same way. We're not going to have that same crypto bubble. You had a lot of leverage. You had a lot of free money. And now you don't have that this particular cycle. You have institutional money coming in. So they're going to be grabbing up the bottoms of a lot of these crypto assets, and they're going to be holding for the long term. So,
Yeah.
I do want to at least warn people, for those of you that think that you're going to be too smart this time, you might be too stupid this time, because what's going to end up happening is a lot of people are going to anticipate something to rhyme. They're going to be anticipating a pattern where you're going to see 80% or 90% decline. Well, this time it's going to be different because institutions are going to be holding the bottoms of a lot of different assets. And a lot of retail investors, remembering the trauma of the last 3 cycles, they're going to sell and they're going to wish they didn't.
And you know what? I was looking at a lot of on the channel. We were looking at grayscale assets, and it's kind of funny. You see like the Solanas, the Stellars, the real like staple blue chip cryptos of the world, and some of those like Stellar are sitting at 11 cents. Like it's a crazy to think about with all the stuff that Stellar has going on with Franklin Templeton, with Coinbase, with MoneyGram. Like there's so many bargains out there, and in comes institutional money, in comes possibly retirement funds. Like, oh my gosh, like that's it gets me giddy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's going to be a massive influx of money coming in, and it goes back to what BlackRock was saying. Larry Fink, which is the owner of it or the CEO at this time, he was saying that capital flight is exiting a lot of safe haven markets and then into crypto assets because that's the new quality asset to flight, or the new quality asset to run to, basically. And I agree. You take a look at what's going on in the markets right now, whether you're looking at stock market or the bond market, you're still looking at very turbulent times. But I will say that I do feel the stock market's still undervalued. I think a lot of assets are undervalued because if you got to think about where the dollar is right now, the dollar is sitting at, I think, I didn't look at it today. Well, it's still closed. So, it's probably at 106.53 since yesterday. Markets don't open till a few hours from now or so. But again, we're at 106.53. So we have a deflationary dollar right now, and that's going to be weighing down asset prices. So if you're an American or you're using any other fiat currency right now in general, you have a tremendous buying opportunity because the buying power you have today is not going to be the same buying power you're going to have in the next 3 to 6 months. So I anticipate the dollar going down from its ATH, which was about 114, about 30 to 40% decline in the next 2 years. And this is kind of why I say, the way you react to this market for the next 1.5 years, 2 years is going to determine your lifestyle for the next 10 years, because basically what you're doing and what the true strategy is, and this could be for any token you're holding, okay? This could be for any token that's long-term or the team is going to be there forever. Put it this way. If you're buying an asset today with a 106 buying power, okay, and you hold on to that asset, and keep in mind, you already got that discount because prices are low, but you also have a strength in dollar power. You have a strength in buying power. So you're going to buy that asset at 106, for your buying power, and you're holding that asset at a cheap discounted price with an overvalued dollar. Okay, you hold that. And what happens as the dollar will decline from here, and I'll go over some bond market data with you in a little bit, but you're going to hold on to that asset for the next 2 years. And basically what's going to happen is that asset's going to go up in value because the dollar is going to be dwindling in value. So while a lot of people are sidelined thinking this is a smart thing to do, you're holding the debt bomb. The debt bomb is the dollar and fiat in general. So when that bomb goes off, you're going to watch that dollar start to inflate. You're going to lose buying power. So as you're holding onto your asset as a hedge for your store of value, the dollar is going to decline in value for the next 2 years, probably down to about 68 to 70 cents by the time we reach 2025. Ooh. So imagine how expensive these assets are going to be, and that's the whole reason why. A lot of capital firms and, as well as venture capitalists or private equity groups, when they get their fresh cash balance sheets beginning of this coming year, they're going to be in a rush to get out of the dollar because every day it's going to cost them money. Right now, the last CPI report was 3.7%. The yield in the reverse repo market or the money market accounts were paying only 3.37%. So we saw within that market, I think it was at $2.5 trillion of a liquidity paying that 3.37%. But when that last CPI report came out, it's been draining rapidly. It's now down to $1.1 trillion. So that's how fast they're exiting these markets into these assets. Another thing to just bounce off of this, is the fact that you should pay attention to that reverse repo market. Take a look at that chart. It's crazy because that's going to be your backstop. That amount of money, that $1.1 trillion that's left in there, that's being used as a backstop for the liquidity crunch that banks are going through right now. So when that thing goes dry and it goes to zero, and it will go to zero in the next month or 2 months or 3 months, but it will go to zero. But once it goes to zero and there's no more liquidity left for these banks to get, you're going to start seeing more banking crises. And then you're going to see a dollar collapse. You're going to see a bond market crisis, which is going to lead to your currency crisis. And then you're going to see that steady decline over the next 2 years, that dollar going down more than 10, 20, 30%. So, right now, more than ever, like I said, you want to buy everything you can, get out of the dollar, get out of fiat in general, and hold on to your assets for the next 1.5 to 2 years. Don't live off the market. I'm telling you, it's going to be the biggest mistake of your life.
And that's one of the things also we've been tracking a bit this year. People should know, we had a couple bank failures this year. There's talks I've seen around where people were saying that banks in China are possibly failing right now. Guys, not only did we print stimulus packages, England did, China did. So to me, really, it seems to be a calculated thing that they're phasing out that type of fiat, right? Yay for us in crypto, right? But yeah, it seems like fiat's going out of the door and crypto's here. And we can see that with things like XDC and Cordia. Again, with the whole thing about BlackRock, it was connected to seeing BlackRock's ticker on DTCC. DTCC is the clearinghouse that holds clearinghouse things for all of our stocks, all of everything, basically, right? And the DTCC was, clearing the BlackRock ticker. So again, that gives me so much belief in coins like XDC that are connected to things like the DTCC. You can see the writing on the wall that things like ISO 20022 cryptos are up next. They are the next thing.
Yeah, definitely. For me personally, I always like to stack, 1 or maybe 2 L1s. I don't want to, I know there's a lot of people that, they want to invest in like XRP, XLM, and XDC, right? Those are their 3 plays. I've heard that a lot, but, I really think that's really, it's a mistake. You should really just consolidate those things into 1 L1 or maybe 2, if that, but if you already like a particular L1, you should just have your sure shot into 1 L1 because you have to think about it. L1s, the way they grow in price, the way they grow is more projects like L2s build on top of that L1. And XDC, more projects are starting to build on top of that layer. So, this is kind of where that education part comes into play with a lot of different people that, they undermine the L2 because L2s are very good stores of value. Look at Chainlink. That's a L2 ERC20 working on top of ETH. If it wasn't for good companies like Chainlink or good companies like any other L2 that's working on XDC, without multiple projects working on top of those platforms, the layer 1 would not scale. So what creates scalability for these L1 platform coins, let's say, is DeFi projects or people, administrators, CEOs, builders, building on top of that layer. So, sometimes I run into different investors say, no, I don't like L2s. I'm like, how do you not like L2s when L2s are what create the value for your L1? That's what creates an economy on that platform. So, you have to keep in mind, in order for you to launch a token, you have to purchase X amount of dollars in the L1. So if I wanted to build on XDC, I have to buy X amount of dollars in XDC and then use that as a liquidity pair to build on top of XDC. Because my L2, right, when I create the L2, it's valueless, okay? There's no value to it. So in order to create value on that L2 of the coin I minted, I have to buy X amount of XDC and pair them to supply liquidity so people could purchase out of that pool. So this is something I like to get out there to people, because you have to take into consideration how valuable L2s are, because it's what creates the value for the L1. That's why ETH is so large, and it'll get larger because people want to build on popular platforms, because more popular platforms mean more people. Bigger networks mean more people, more money, more economy. And that's pretty much how all of these things are going to scale. So XDC, XRP, XLM, there's multiple L2s working on top of these layers. So I anticipate, that going into this cycle, these L1s to finally start exploding. XRPO is doing good. I know XLM has some projects on there. And I've been recently hearing about a few XDC projects. So I'm excited for this. I think a lot of fruition is going to happen this time around.
Now, what's your view on ETH layer 2s?
Well, I just got through launching an L2 for ETH. I like our token a lot. It's a MYC token. 51% of the supply is locked forever. 33% of the LP is locked for 33 years. And the distribution is the fairest any utility tokens ever seen out there, ever provided. Most holders hold 1% or less. So it's a very equally distributed token. So it's very decentralized from just one person having all the tokens. And that's something I really took a lot of pride in, because we wanted to make a fair marketplace. We created NFTs. The NFTs sold out, and these tokens are going to be your credentials to sign in for annual passes to MYC Odd App. So this is kind of going back into, and stepping outside of, just this particular project. But in general, all projects are going to need some sort of product, some sort of service to incentivize the purchase of tokens. So, a lot of tokens, or over 95% of projects right now, they don't have a product. They have an idea, but they don't have a product. So, this time around, going into the bull cycle, I anticipate a lot of people are going to be looking at projects with a little bit more scrutiny, and they're going to be wanting to see a product, not an idea. So it's, without a product, it becomes more risky, because you don't have a tangible idea, like you don't have a tangible product or service in front of you. You have to imagine whatever the pitch is. But I'm excited for ETH in general. I like ETH simply because it's a very popular platform. It has a lot of audiences there. It's treated us very well. We launched about 2 weeks ago. It broke 7.2 million in market cap, which is
Nice.
which is actually bigger than a lot of different blue chip projects. And I consider us a unicorn status token. There's really not that many administrators out there, developers, that have created a software application that got listed on Apple and Google stores. So I'm proud of our community, and I'm proud to say that our product is listed globally on every mobile device in the world. So, when I go and talk with like venture capitalists or private equity groups, they're going to be able to choose between me that has a product listed everywhere, or the guy next door that has zero product and a good idea. It takes time to build things. So, for us, we'd be saving people like 2 years in development. So that's another big thing for us. But going back to ETH in general, some people talk about the fees. The fees are really very small compared to like what we have now. But I'll go ahead and read that, a little bit.
No. I was just someone was commenting on Dion what Dion said. Facts on the ISO coins. Pick one. Too much capital going to allocate so much capital onto that group.
Yeah, correct. You don't want to do too many capital interest splits. If you already know there's 3 good picks and you know for a fact all 3 are good picks, just pick your favorite one and really have a concentrated shot. You're only going to get 1 shot in a cycle, and the cycles don't come around too often. So a concentrated sure shot is the best. But again, like going back to just platforms, we're in the very beginning of what these platforms are. ETH is going to be an ETF. So projects building on top of ETH are going to experience that growth from the ETF liquidity. Same thing with projects that are utilizing Bitcoin. A lot of these, one day I anticipate an ETF for XDC, for XRP, and for XLM, because they're platforms, they're L1. So a lot of these blockchains are going to be sold as ETFs. So that's going to be a great thing for a lot of projects that are right now taking the risk and putting their name on the line to go build as builders. So I'm very proud to be an American builder. I'm proud to do what we do. I want to make a shining example for our people. But I also want to be there before everyone else is. I have something that's coded, it's immutable. Nobody could take that away from us. And now it's like more about, well, we're here, we're ready. We have products, we're on the chain. We're doing a great job right now. We're still above, I think, about 3 million in market cap after that consolidated surge we experienced recently. It surged to 7.2 million in market cap, and now it's consolidated about the 3 million market cap, and we're only 2 weeks old. So that's really good for us. But for any builder that's out there that's taking the risk and going out there to go and build and create a name for yourself, you're there and you're building, regulations will come eventually and we'll get clarity. And that clarity is only going to make us better. It's only going to guide us better. And it's going to offer more institutional investment for those of us that are on the line building in the sector. So it's going to be a great thing for everybody. I think it's going to, all of us are going to experience that growth, so to be there first, whether you're a retail investor or you're a builder, I think it's going to benefit everybody to get ready now.
Yep. And shout out to you, man, for having the balls to go out there and create your own project. Any entrepreneur, man, it takes balls to do that. Let alone in the crypto space. So hats off to you, bro.
Well, see, the thing is, a lot of people don't want to show their face either. They don't want to dox themselves. Sheeb still has an anonymous developer. Some people know who he is. I know who he is, but there's a lot of very large in the billion market cap tokens that are still anonymous developers. But given the current climate, I think we're getting very close to regulations, but I think it's also time for a lot of us to take a stand and, stand for what we believe in, and then show people that we could do a good job. All around the world, people are building and doing a variety of bad things. But there's also very good builders I've met around the world, and I want to be alongside them, so I want to make sure we can make a name for ourselves and make a product. We're already globally distributed. So, I think once we start talking to different VCs and private equity groups going into 2024, they're going to be very happy to, take a look at us versus taking a look at a JPEG project. I do think that we're going to do really well.
Nice, bro. So what's your view on a couple sectors? What do you think they're going to do this year? Say metaverse or AI, DeFi, what's your favorite sector for this year?
So, I know a lot of people are undermining these 2 sectors, but unfortunately, they're going to be the biggest bangers for this cycle. GameFi is huge, and I'll explain to you why GameFi is so huge. But also social media and communications apps. And that's what I'm happy with. Because we're communications too. But, I think GameFi and communications is going to be the biggest thing this come around. And the reason why is because a lot of different platforms are now censoring, banning, suspending, shadow banning, cutting reach. A lot of these things are driving a lot of entrepreneurs to create applications to decentralize from Twitter, to decentralize from OddApp, or I'm sorry, not from OddApp, but decentralize from Facebook or Instagram, things like that. That's the whole reason why I made OddApp. I made Odd App because I wanted to decentralize from these, platforms that have banned me or censored me. I mean, you've been with me for a while now, Blackrue. So, so you've already seen me get banned or suspended or shadow banned, and and that's kind of what drove us to make our own platform. But again, this is what's going to be driving a lot of those other projects that are trying to create new social media or decentralized social media. So there's that. So I think that'll be a big thing this coming cycle. I do think GameFi is going to be an even larger opportunity. And the reason why is because social media could be kind of tough for a lot of people to monetize unless they have a very valuable product or valuable service that makes people pay for that subscription. Right. So it's kind of hard to get people to do that, because a lot of people are used to a free app. And free apps, the only reason why they're free is because they're stealing your data. They're harvesting your data, your camera, your microphone, and then selling that data. So you're the cattle in that particular case. But I do think people are going to appreciate privacy more as we go into the sector. So that'll change with time, but it's going to take a little bit of time. But games are now. I feel like a lot of GameFi projects are going to explode this cycle because a game in general is already the product, you see? So the 90% of the battle is accomplished because what creates a viable project is a viable product. So when it comes to GameFi, it's easier for people to imagine, even for like an early entrepreneur or somebody that's new to business. The thing is, when people create projects, they could be very brand new to business and they don't know how to create a business model. But everybody knows the business model of a video game or arcade. You want to play the game, you have to pay for it. See? So in order to play the video game, you need to buy the tokens. Simple. So, because you have this easy business model that's already been engraved in our heads since Chuck E. Cheese's or since any other video game we played at the arcade, it's easier concept for people to understand when it comes down to investors and also venture capitalists too. So they're going
to hearing you explain it like that. Yeah. It seems like a great thing too for an individual community. Like if you guys wanted to, if somebody wanted to start their own game within their own community, that's how things kind of get started. And that seems to me like that would be a really cool thing within a community. For people who really wanted to have fun, maybe, want to risk some money on it or whatnot, or what have you. It's just like, playing poker with the boys, but like now it's your own community, right? So that seems really, really, really cool on that end. And as far as like the communication apps, I know people were tired of getting banned by Twitter for saying something that's just not what they don't want you to say. You know what I mean? So things like Odd App, things like Rokfin, things like I'm sorry.
There's Deso. There's another decentralized social media app. There's Den.social by DragonChain.com.
Yep. Things like that are going to pop up. As far as some of the existing things, like Twitter, I definitely see those being like remittance payment apps in like a la WeChat. You know what I mean? Like they have over in China. So that kind of gives me a bullish outlook on things like Dogecoin, right? Or Bitcoin, which you can already use on Twitter, but they just don't say it.
Essentially anything could be used as a medium of exchange for whatever, but for GameFi,
already on the app talking to people, it's like it's easy to have that be a remittance payment now.
You're like sending payments through a message. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Is that something you're looking at doing with your app at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have already a tool called gifting that we can integrate. It's there. When I first built the app, it was actually already made with it, but I actually removed the feature because I didn't want to look too much like a lot of these other social apps. Like for me, it was kind of like simplifying.
Yep.
It's like for instance, we don't have direct messaging on OddApp. And the reason why is because like if you're an admin or if you've ever been like a mod for Telegram or Discord, you know, it's very annoying when you receive like the same question 10 times by different users. So,
Yep.
you know, for OddApp, it's community communication. So it's a little bit more transparent for everybody, you know, and then also the questions and the answers get you know, told in front of everyone. So I feel like that has greater transparency, but also it reduces workload for crypto communities, because every question a crypto member, let's say, has, well, I feel like that answer should be said to everybody. Because you could be answering a question someone else has, or maybe, you know, what if it's a legitimate question or a concern, you know, maybe somebody else is worried. So I think that community communications is better than direct messaging and all that other stuff, because direct messaging could be skewed. And then also data could go missing. You know, like there's been many times when I used to be on Discord or Telegram where I provided a piece of information to one particular user, and you know, I lose track or I get busy or something like that, and you know, maybe that question doesn't get asked in the community, or you know, that piece of data, or maybe that intel was actually really bullish. I don't see it as bullish, but maybe the community member does. And then that piece of data, you know, gets shared later on. Hey, how come I didn't know about that? Well, Dion messaged me in the DM. So you see, so like that kind of makes it a little bit more like, well, that's not as transparent, you know? And it's not because admins do that to be mean or to be subversive or anything like that. It's just that, you know, you have so many people that communicate with you on a daily basis. You're busy, you know? So I think that it reduces workload, but it enhances transparency.
Gotcha. Now we have a question here. Courtney Johnson, he did say what blockchain it's on. It's on ETH. Now, what's like the ticker or something if people want to go out and buy and purchase?
Well, you could always go on my page, but you could always go on our Twitter. It's MYC_token. It's an ERC20 token. 51% is locked into the smart contract forever. It's a 33-year LP lock. Distribution is very good. If you take a look at the holders list, everybody has about 1% or less. I got 2%. There's 2 or 3 people that have bought more than I could. So it's a very fair marketplace. You know, at mycult.io, you could learn more about it. You know, our NFTs sold out already. And those are going to be your access credits to get into OddApp if you want like an annualized pass. We will be able to integrate it through the app where you can pay through there. And then we also have something in development called ETH subscriptions, which you'll be able to pay like a monthly a monthly subscription. But, you know, personally, you know, even having both of the options, I kind of feel like it's better to do like an annual, because here's the major issue with digital wallets right now. Digital wallets, in order for you to have automation, that means that you're going to have to provide that wallet and the tool access to your wallet. And I don't like that, you know, because think about it. Let's say you forget, you know, and you leave it there. And then, you know, it has that tool and that wallet are linked and it has full access. You know, I'm a very big person when it comes to full custody. And I kind of feel like that's kind of relieving yourself of custody in some sort of way. So, you know, I'll be thinking a little bit more on that. I want to perfect it for sure. I have the tools. But, you know, I think the maybe more of a peer-to-peer, or maybe something where it's like annualized pass, where you just do a one-time payment for the year versus this monthly thing, because I kind of don't want access to your wallet every month. You know, I don't want some sort of tool that has access every month. Because what if it gets manipulated? What if something gets compromised? You know, so these are certain security issues that I think about when seeing different technologies. I'm more of a person for self-custody, and I really have a big doctrine. I'm kind of a dinosaur in the crypto world, somewhat. So my ideology is always kind of peer-to-peer. So we'll explore options as we continue development, but for the most part, you know, our product is complete.
Okay, we have. I think what he was asking here is, what's your opinion on Nostra?
Nostra? I'm
Just
not
like,
sure what that is.
I think he was saying like Nostr, like you know, the messaging app from Jack Dorsey.
Oh, it's kind of tough to say. You know, I remember it was kind of like a bounce off, and he was trying to talk about like Web 5 at the time or whatever, but Web 5 is just Web 3. I think any decentralized app is always going to be good. Like as long as you're decentralized from like these centralized platforms, it's going to be good because, yeah, maybe you'll have one platform that could serve as kind of like a town hall, or maybe like a place where, you know, millions or billions of people could congregate, and you know, maybe there's sets of rules that you need to follow, because you can have people from different worlds, you know, different parts of the world that have different doctrines, and I get that. So, you know, when you get larger, you have to concern yourself with the way everybody feels a little bit, and when you start going global. But I do think that, you know, and I do believe in a lot of ideologies that Jack Dorsey has shared. Like there was a particular thing that he had said where he said that he loved Twitter when it was less than 100,000 users, because that was the best time of his life. Because when he only had 100,000 users, or he only had like 1 million users or something like that, you didn't have people reporting each other or trying to ban each other. Like the world wasn't big enough for people to really like care about each other at that time. But when you have an application that's pulling in hundreds of millions of people, that's when it becomes a little bit more like, okay, I need to worry about people that might be like racists, you know, or maybe people that might be using this application to do illicit acts, you know, whatever. So those are certain things that you have to worry about as applications get large. But I do think that the more decentralized apps that we get, I think that'll, you know, get rid of that problem, you know, because the problem is you got too many people all in one spot. You know, if you don't have, you know, decentralization happening, you can't have your little niche groups, you know, because think about it. Think about everybody's community. You know, Blackrue has his own community, and those people are a certain type of language or a certain type of personality, right? Well, MYC, we have our own certain type of personality, right? Let's say if we put our people together, I can imagine they would get along very well. But I can imagine some of the people that I know from my side probably, you know, are a little bit too, you know, crazy. You know, I personally feel like, you know, Blackrue has more of like a cleaner touch than MYC personally. You know, I just feel like he's way more professional. So, you know, it just depends like on like the type of personalities your communities have. And that's just one example. You just don't know. But again, when you have too many communities merging from different types of personalities, that's when you could kind of get some friction. But I think that's the whole point. Like that's the whole reason why we need decentralization, so that way you could have your niche groups, your niche applications for this type of people. There's certain types of people that are on like Truth Social, and there's a certain type of people that are on Twitter. There's a certain type of people that are on Gab.com. There's a certain type of people that, you know, are on America First. You know, it all depends on the demographic. So, you know, I do think decentralization is needed. And whatever app it may be, whether it's Jack Dorsey's app or my app or anyone else's app, I think it's going to, you know, collectively do better for everybody, for society in general.
You know, that brings up like a good question. Like, okay, like we all want decentralization, right? But then it's like, okay, some people want a central government to come in and say, okay, this person can't do this. All right, we don't want this guy over here doing that. It's like, I don't know. I guess that's like a personal preference thing. We don't really have to answer that. But like when you look at a thing like Silk Road, for instance, right? It's like, you know, people could kind of do what they wanted to do. And there's no central authority just saying, okay, you can't do that. I don't know. I think the decentralized way works a lot better because when we look at things like YouTube that's really centralized, sometimes it's like you get to points where it's like, okay, it's just like they don't want you to say something that's against the norm. Like, and that I don't agree with. You know.
I mean, well, you know, what's funny is like my channel was recently suspended for about 7 days. So, so you know that
I know you be every time, Dion, they get you, man.
Well, you know, well, the problem is like I have a really hard time not just saying how I feel or what it is, you know. I just feel like I think data is going to be the new gold. You know what I'm saying? So like to hide data or to censor, or how do they say redact? You know, when you're trying to remove data for the sake of, you know, emotions. I think it's a disservice to society. You know, you have to say how you feel when, even if you're the wrong person, you know, at least you said how you feel, you got your opinion out there. And then you have another opinion that will contradict or whatever. And if that opinion is better, then society will deem that one better, you know. But again, at least somebody got to say how they feel. And, you know, I think even when there's disagreement, there's still progress that's made, you know, because sometimes I could get a good argument from somebody and, you know, maybe I'm wrong, you know, so maybe I morph my ideology, you know, maybe I'm still thinking the same way, but maybe I'm going to think about sharpening the way I say it, or maybe I'm going to think about sharpening, you know, my own ideology, where I'm like, okay, you know, I'll adopt a piece of what he said. You know, maybe I'm not right all the time, but, you know, maybe 10% of what that guy said, you know, it's a good piece of gold there. So I'm going to take that. So, you know, sometimes they could be like that too.
100%. And it's one thing about something being like totally illegal, and it's an entire another thing where it's like,
oh yeah, opinions, and I mean, well, doing something illicit versus just an opinion, you know.
Right, exactly. My dissenting
Illicit, then yeah, no, that's not going to be allowed. Yeah.
right, like how is it that my dissenting opinion is not allowed? That's just completely goes against America and everything we represent. But slowly and surely, we're turning into that, and I don't
Yeah.
like it. Even algorithms are kind of like getting us there even further, because the algorithm is only like bred to think like you think. So anything else gets canceled.
I've been talking about that a lot lately, because the way censorship is created right now is by the code. So, you know, algorithm is censoring you. You know, there's not somebody I mean, sometimes if you're doing an appeal, you have a human person on the other side reviewing it. But 98% of the time you're censored or you're suspended or banned from an algorithmic code. So, you know, that's a problem because, you know, let's say if you're on Twitter and you're talking a certain way, then by code and algorithmic code, you're going to be censored by a robot. You're being censored by AI. You know, so a lot of people, they think that AI God cannot exist, but, you know, it can exist and people are going to listen to it. Maybe they're not going to say, I worship you, or maybe they're not going to say you're a God or AI is God to me. But if you're morphing your behaviors, or you're conforming your behaviors, your speech, your sentiments based on algorithmic code, so that way you can get more reach, or maybe so that way you could still get paid or monetized from the platform, so you conform to whatever the code says you need to be, then yeah, that's your God. That's who you worship. So, you know, you have to understand who's your master. Or who's the master? So, you know, that's something I have a problem with. And I think that's the reason why I get so punished all the time for being a bad boy.
Sorry, we went down that rabbit hole. Now back to crypto, guys. What's your thought? I know I got into it a little bit, but I want to get into it a little bit more. We got into it a little bit backstage. Recently, people have been talking about the whole Craig Wright thing. Yeah, like what's your view on the Craig Wright thing, and specifically, what do you think about BSV and the possibilities of BSV?
So, you know, for me, if as long as a token has backing and it has a community, it could survive. You know, I've seen meme coins, you know, become legitimate, you know, so you know, I have a hard time discrediting one token from the next. The only thing that really creates something that's a discredit is if the community rejects it, you know. So if there's a community supporting it, then it's real. So that's as far as I'll go with that. But, you know, as for whether Craig Wright is the creator of Bitcoin or not, you know, I feel like he's barking up the wrong tree personally. If let's say he proves that he is the creator, they're probably just going to seize his assets, or maybe they might put him in jail. Who knows what they'll do? but his way of just trying to say, well, this is the real way I wanted to do it, that doesn't make you look any better. I mean, even if he's determined the real creator, I don't really see I mean, maybe from our standpoint, if we bought maybe 100 of his tokens and just put them away and held it just in case, because let's say if the government gives him custody of those assets, which I don't think they will. I mean, because put it this way, if he gets custody of those assets somehow, what do you think they're going to do? Nuh-uh, Mr. Customer, you have a lot to pay for now.
I know, you got taxes up the butt now.
I mean, I personally, I just feel like he would be. I feel like he would, hang himself doing this. So we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. I mean, I don't have any fight in that at all. I don't reject it. I don't accept it. I don't really care about it. But I do think that if I mean, I'd like to see what happens. I don't really have an opinion on it, to be honest. Like, more power to him if he gets the assets. I just want to be safe.
Now, I've recently heard, and this has been going around for a while, like there's been a beef between the quant and the Chainlink community over just like who's better.
I was talking to Crypto John about this. I don't know why there's a beef between. I think it's because of one particular individual, I guess, but like I don't agree with it. I think it's silly to argue because Quant is a partner of Chainlink. Quant uses Oracle, so they're using Chainlink services. They both help each other grow. So I really don't see the point in arguing that.
Yeah.
If you're talking about ROI, then unfortunately, Chainlink has more ROI potential because of its price point, versus where Quant is. Quant, I could see maybe another 10 or 20x. But, I think Chainlink, for where it's at, it can also see, 10, 20x or more, but it's also a cheaper price. So if you're taking a look at ratio and multipliers, you probably got more multipliers with Chainlink. But again, what I think they're apples and oranges, really. But, because you got Quant has a smaller coin cap, or token supplies, and then Chainlink has a bigger coin supplies, but they're producing more volume and service. So, but at the core of everything, what makes these projects good projects is because they have a product. See, what a lot of people haven't figured out is the secret to crypto. The secret that everyone needs to know about when it comes to blue chip utility tokens is, do you have a product? That's it. You could be the king of communications. You could be the king of privacy communications. You could be the king of Oracle services, the king of DLT services, which to me is kind of funny because everything is DLT. It's all distributed ledger technology, But again, you could be the king of your particular sector, So to say that one thing is better than the other if they have a product doesn't really mean anything, because at the core of everything is the project is a good project because it has a product. It has something to sell. So you have a reoccurring business model, or you have a business model. If the token's just a token by itself and it's not being used to pay for something, then it's just a token, you see? So, Chainlink, it has a service. It provides service. Quant, it has a service. It provides services and it charges for that service. So that's why these projects are multi-billion in market cap, because they have a product. Over 95% of projects, they have zero products. So that's why only a handful of projects are going to make it to the unicorn status.
Right. So one other one, what do you think about Caspa? That's
Caspa. I've heard good things about it. It's a layer 1. So my first question is, how many people are building on it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Any L2s building on it right now?
I don't think so. Not at the moment.
All right. So people are just buying the token because there's marketing. So that's good. But the next step to make it more expensive is getting builders to build on top of that layer.
Yep. So I don't even think they have smart contracts yet, to be honest with you.
Okay. So, so it's missing smart contracts. So it's a blockchain 1.0. So blockchain 1.0 is simply a ledger, or simply blockchain, so simply transactions. So if Caspa is only doing transactions, and that's fine, it's perfectly okay. But the next step is how to create projects on top of it, because in order to build on Caspa, you're going to need to buy a bunch of Caspa to build on it, right? So that's really the next step. So if I was a Caspa investor, I'd be asking the CEOs or anybody, hey, what are you doing to incentivize people to build on top of your platform? That would be my next concern, because you could always make price go up with a lot of marketing, and that's okay. But if you really want an expensive token, like let's say if you guys want to see $1 Caspa or $2 Caspa one day, it's not going to happen by just a bunch of people buying the token, because a bunch of people are going to sell that token. If the only thing they can do is buy and sell, that's all they're going to do. So, what you're going to want to see from that platform in the long term is some sort of vision for others to build on top of it. So, and again, Caspa is still very new. So, that's still down the pipeline. So I don't have anything bad to say about it. Every blockchain layer 1 is going to do well as long as you got more projects or some sort of incentive for others to build on top of it. So this goes back to that L1 ideology I was telling you guys about. In order to create value for your L1 is L2s. So you're going to need more people building on top of it. So you got to support people that want to build on top of that layer.
Now, do you see a random question that came to me? Do you see BRICS nations just taking over from G7 nations? Like a lot of in my mind, like I feel like the elite are on both sides of the equation anyway. So BRICS or G7, it doesn't matter. But to me, it just seems like BRICS is up next, because the American currency has been around for 100 years, and it seems like every currency has about a 100-year shelf life. So it's time for BRICS to have its turn and American currency not to have its turn.
Yeah, I very much feel we live in like a one world order already, but the switching of the guard of who gets all the benefits does change. I do think that there can be multiple reserve currencies, though. Just because the Eastern region says, hey, we have a new reserve currency, doesn't mean the whole world's going to follow that. They could have their reserve currency and the BRICS nation use that reserve currency. And then you could have the US dollar still serve as a reserve currency for the Western regions. It just depends on how it happens. But I do see more of a Caesar moment happening right now in America. America could very well surrender in the next 10 years. It's not looking good, because you have to think about what's going on right now. You have the bond market is in a bubble. Whenever you see the percentage yields on bonds at 5% or more, it reminds me of the 1994 bond market crisis. When we were trying to reduce inflation, we kept raising rates. And because we were raising rates, it was deflating the dollar to the point where it was overvalued, and all the bond investors that were holding US dollar debt, they were just dumping for the principal instead of waiting for the yield. Because think about what's happening now. If you're a bond investor or you're investing in treasuries right now, and you see the CPI report is 3.7%, and a lot of the yields that you have in the money market accounts are only paying 3.37%, or they're only paying 4%, you're not really making money. You're not really losing money, but you're not making money. So, you're going to move out of those safe havens, and you're going to go into risk on assets. So what's happening with all these yields going to almost 5% in the bond market is pretty much a signal that the bond market is losing liquidity. For those of you in the crypto space, whenever you see a staker token, or a token that you could stake, or a token that you could earn yield, right? What do? They say, well, we'll give you 100% yield. We'll give you 100% APY for your investment. We'll give you 200%, if you park your money over here. Well, that's what the bond market is doing right now. It's losing so much liquidity that the government is offering 5% yields to invest in US dollar debt. But the problem is the dollar's so overvalued that people rather dump for the principal than wait for the yield, because the yield is not that good versus the inflation rate. So when your inflation rate is too close to the yield, or the inflation rate is superseding the yield, you're going to see a lot more bond dumping. So if you take a look at China over the last year has dumped, from $1.3 trillion down to, I think they own $680 billion worth of US dollar debt. And they're probably going to default on Evergrande, which is another $300 billion in US dollar debt that'll hit the dollar. So there's that. Then you have Japan, which is supposed to be our ally. They went from 1.4 trillion. Now they're down to about 1 trillion in US dollar debt. And their currency is not doing well. The exchange rate is at about 150 for the dollar. So in order for these countries to defend their peg against an overvalued dollar, because keep in mind, when the dollar is overvalued, it weighs down all assets, stocks, crypto, and all that. But it's also weighing down other fiat systems. It's disrupting trade. So what ends up happening is these currencies that all these other countries are owning are hurting because the dollar is draining them. So because the dollar is draining them, they take a look at their US Treasury or their debt holdings and they say, okay, let's dump this so we could currency swap that liquidity over to our currency to defend our peg. So what you're seeing right now is a lot of these countries are trying to defend their peg against the dollar's strength. And with so many of them doing this at the same time, you're going to see a dollar crash. So that's why the next step or the next event that's going to happen is going to be a bond market crisis. I recommend taking a look at the 1994 bond market crisis to give you an idea of what's going to happen, except the shoe's on the other foot. But, to give you an idea what's going to happen, you're going to see a bond market crisis. And then after the bond market crisis, you're going to see a currency crisis. Okay. Next step, take a look at the reverse repo market as your timer. The reverse repo market is a backstop. Right now it's at $1.1 trillion. Okay. The banks are experiencing a liquidity crunch, and they're using that reservoir as liquidity to keep the banks solvent. When that goes to zero, and it's going to go to zero, the banks are going to collapse again. You're going to have consolidation, and then JP Morgan, Citibank, Wells Fargo, you're going to see the big four start to acquire more banks. So you're going to see consolidation with the banking industry, but you're also going to see a lot more banking crises. So, we're going to see major upticks in the markets, but you're going to watch the dollar start to crash a lot faster.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to rewind this video a couple times and then go back and forth. But I'm telling you, you have to take a look at it. It's gonna be a timer. You look at the reverse repo market and you take a look at JP Morgan and what they're doing. They're basically the backstop for the banks. And if you want to understand how dangerous the territory is right now to be holding fiat or have money in the bank, okay, we have $34 trillion worth of debt. FDIC insurance has a reserve of only $300 billion. So when these banks start to collapse, we're going to see another depression. Okay. So you're going to see, what's fucked up is you're going to see markets rally while everyone goes broke. That's what you're going to see, but you're going to see, this reserve go empty, and we have $34 trillion worth of debt. You're going to have people that are going to be ass out of money. So, you be careful out there. Gold, silver, crypto assets, self-custody, anything that's self-custody, is what you're going to want to do.
It's funny you mentioned that because we're about 6 years from the 100-year anniversary of the Great Depression. And remember, we mentioned that whole 100-year span for currencies. Mm-hmm. So, that might be a year to look out for, guys, for depression. Or maybe, give or take a year. But
see, what's funny is a lot of people, when they think about the recessions or they think about depression, stuff like that, they're consistently saying, oh man, how are the markets going to rally? Well, the markets don't rally from retail investors. The markets rally from institutional investors. And they're going to be buying when all the retail are broke. So that's basically how it is.
And that's what makes me really bullish and giddy about this market, is because retail's coming in. And not only is retail coming in, that's going to make other people, the staunch crypto haters, feel like, okay, if BlackRock's getting in, if Fidelity's getting in, if Citi's getting in, if ARK Invest is getting in, okay, then maybe I can put some of my money in there. And then also on top of that, if all of those guys are getting in, then other hedge funds and stuff can also probably move their funds into Bitcoin as well. So that just makes things crazy.
Let's look at some of your comments real quick. Hold on. So, and I don't know what Courtney Johnson's issue is, but I'm definitely not Caucasian. but no, I know Reggie.
And no hate on our Caucasian members out there. But Deion's not Caucasian.
No, but still, either way, no, I do know about Reggie Middleton. Shout out to him. The problem, see here, the issue with patents is they, especially in the blockchain space, patents don't mean anything. That's what sucks. There's a lot of patents out there, but they're almost worthless. Can you have them and do they do anything? Not really. There is a lot of scrutiny on that, but like, I don't know what Reggie's really trying to do. Like, he wants to say that he's the creator of DeFi or the definition of DeFi. Okay, well, what does that mean? Do you want to own everything then, or like, what does that mean? But I do think that his token, I think that was an injustice. I personally feel like that was wrong. He should have been allowed to continue his thing, or he should have been, allowed to continue that on. I just think personally that they didn't like the allocation on that. The distribution. As I recall, I'm fuzzy on that story, but I don't. As I recall, I believe the distribution on that holder list wasn't too fair. But again, I hope all the best for him. I do think that he just came out at a bad time. And maybe he might be able to do something later on, who knows? I'm not anybody to really speak against it or speak for it. Right. I just don't feel like he was treated fairly. I think that if he's an entrepreneur or a builder, he should be allowed to build. It's simple as that.
And I feel like, the patent game, a lot of people do that. So I don't feel like it's anything that he's doing that's like, that hasn't been done before. So if he was first to the patent, hey, pay the man, Teddy KGB, pay the man his money, pay him his money. If that's the case, and from get-go, it seems like he's been trying to handle it in a quiet way. He's not like, he's not trying to make a scene about it. So, I hope he gets his money. I really do. I honestly do. Let's see here. What is your opinion? On Filecoin. What's your opinion on Filecoin?
I like Filecoin, it has a product and they sell space, so I like all that, another coin. That's another coin that has a model, if it has a model, then it has a product, then it'll do well, and we did very well with it last cycle. So, keep in mind, in order for people to send files or in order to put a file away, they need to pay in Filecoin. So that helps the miners. It helps, the people that want to use it for storage. Like, it has a product that's issuing demand for those tokens. So like, it'll do well, but yeah, Mr. Cryptonomics or whatever. Yeah, bro. I mean, I don't know.
Cryptonomics. He's not a fan of.
I mean, it's not really. I don't really.
What's up, guy?
Cool. I'm, happy for your opinion. I just, I don't have a support for it and I don't have a rejection for it, but if he's a builder, then I hope he builds and, I hope the best for him, but it's, I don't have anything derogatory to say about him. And I don't have anything in support to say about him.
Deion is Mexican. Like, when did Mexican become white, guys? What's going on?
Well, from what my parents have said, I'm supposed to be Mexican, Indian, and Spaniard or whatever, but I don't even speak Spanish. So, you could call me white, I guess.
Somebody says, Deanna thought you were Mexican. So, yeah, like, okay. Like, I don't know. Mexican is not Caucasian to me. I don't.
Yeah. But no, I mean, guys, look, I know I talk very well. And I know I present myself in a good way. But I do have a sense of humor and I'm very easygoing, so you could always talk to me normal. I'm very, very chill,
Not like we're hating on our Caucasian brothers in here.
Yeah.
Everyone's welcome, okay? But Just,
Yeah, man, our community has been running strong for about a little bit over 4 years now. I've been in the market for about 5 years. I've always done really well. I did well for myself before I got into crypto. But our community is very easygoing. We love comedy for sure. And we're a little bit roughneck, but we do get the job done. We build things, and we've helped and supported a lot of different live streamers, a lot of different builders and stuff like that. Shout out to you guys, and thanks for listening in to us and all of that.
Yep. So let me see if I missed any questions here. I don't think so. I think we got them. I think we got them all. And I don't know how much time you got, brother, but it's already been 1 hour and 10.
Yeah, let's cut this one short that way, because that way people could watch it. I know when it's an hour, they'll come back and watch it, or they'll listen to it while they're working or something. But an hour and a half. Yeah. But let's do another stream next week, or let's do a group one. Like, now that the cycle is a little bit more here, I want to start doing a little bit more live streams. I'm going to be reaching out to our network of live streamers that we already know, trying to create more panels and get more dialogue going. I was just so busy working, dude, like building and getting this app ready. One thing we wanted to do is be ready for market. We wanted to have everything ready before the cycle came. So I'm happy to say we're like ready.
Yeah, and we love MYC around here. We're gonna try to get Bird Dog Crypto Ronin on here with us. So stay tuned, guys. Sometime next week, preferably maybe Thursday. But I'll keep you guys notified. If you guys want to join my Telegram, it's completely free. The link for that is in the description. Definitely go over to Dion's channel. Check out Odd App. So yeah, guys, we'll be doing this again next week. Thanks so much for tuning in on this Sunday. We're out of here, guys. Peace.
All right.